Hello and welcome to the reunion for 1984 Fatal Attraction, where we just crowned Nicholas as the 10th winner of 1984 at a vote of 4-3 against Jeff. Both of you played phenomenal games. So we now have some awards to give out for the season. So I'm going to go on screen share here and we will get started. So the first award we have is the most robbed pre-juror. So our nominees are Corey, Evan, Lizzie, and Mac. The award goes to Mac. So Mac gets this award because he was the only person to fall victim to the Fatal Attraction twist season. Corey obviously left in the instant, so he definitely was a robbed player. He's a very big character in the season, as you all very well know. Lizzie, I feel, was another person that was very robbed in this game. I think she had a lot of potential, but circumstances happened how they did. And Evan, I feel like you had such a good chance in this game if you hadn't have left when you did. For your first org, you did phenomenal. You should be very proud of yourself. Okay. Next award, the most robbed juror. So the most robbed juror nominees are Jackson, Melissa, and Sarah, and the award goes to Jackson. We very highly considered both Missy and Sarah for this award as well. However, we gave it to Jackson because Jackson, had he not gotten evicted the week he did, he was very likely in the final three winning this game. Jackson was not nominated until final six, which we saw last season happen with the eventual winner of the season. Jackson, you set yourself up very well in this game. I think Nicholas using that veto was possibly one of the only chances to get you out of this game. So that is why we have crowned you as most robbed juror of the season. Next up, we have the best duo of the season. We have Drew and Missy. We have Nicholas and Sarah, and we have Braden and Missy. So the best duo of the season. Prod went back and forth on this, but we gave it to. Oh, okay. Sarah's picture's not supposed to be there anymore. Oops. We gave it to Drew and Missy. So Drew and Missy were a very fun duo. I spent most of the majority of the time I was on a call with a duo was with Drew and Missy. The two of you had a secret duo, which I really enjoyed because Drew put it out there like he had his final two with Lizzie, and Missy was out there saying that Jackson was her final two or Braden was her final two. And so it was really cool to see that dynamic of you two working together in this game. One reason that we almost didn't give it to you was because Drew kind of allowed himself to be put on the block so he wouldn't have to save Missy at final five, though I know you did regret that move, but it is what it is. Nicholas and Sarah were also up there for this award. Even though you weren't really a duo, you became a duo without trying, which was just a very fun dynamic to watch. So yeah. Next, we have the best rivalry of the season. This was one of my favorite awards. We have Jackson and Caleb, Braden and Sarah, and Missy and Sarah. The award goes to. Are we surprised? Jackson and Caleb. This rivalry stemmed, I feel like, from nowhere. Caleb got nominated by Jackson week 2. I do think that Caleb misinterpreted why he was targeted, which is fine. But then Caleb was very much after Jackson. Jackson retaliated very much. I think one of my favorite moments in the game that I didn't notice until Melissa pointed it out, that in the cup stacking competition, Caleb fell and Jackson waved goodbye to him and then proceeded to fall out of the competition. That was one of my favorite things to go back and watch. And the fact that the rivalry did not stop when Caleb got evicted, it went right into the jury house, even up to 5 minutes ago. And possibly right now because I'm not checking Skype. So that was a very fun rivalry to watch. In our cast assessment, you will see that we thought you two were going to be the best of friends, but clearly that did not happen. Maybe it'll happen in a future game.
Can I just say something?
Go for it.
Hey, Jackson, you're the worst. You sick.
Whatever.
Okay. The next award we have Drew and Nicholas nominated for Comp Beast of the Season. You two did end up winning the same amount of competitions. We did these before everything ended tonight, so we did give this to Drew. Drew did win 4 consecutive comps, which we've never seen in 1984 before. As Drew mentioned during the finale, Drew and Nicholas were both 1 comp away from winning, or from tying Zach, Megan, Caleb, and Kennedy for most comps in a season for 1984. You are both now tied for that 2nd place with Jabbar, so you're in good company. Drew, you won so many comps early on, where Nicholas was more at the end game, winning a bunch of comps in the end game. So you two were both very good comp threats this season. Next, we have the social butterfly of the season. We have our nominees, Jeff, Glow, and Melissa. The winner of social butterfly of the season is Melissa. I think Jeff is a very good nominee for this. However, we did choose to give it to Melissa. Melissa got along with so many people. I think Melissa got along with more people than she thought she would in this game. I always loved getting on calls with Melissa, listening to her confessionals. So I know you guys enjoyed her just as much. I think it was very interesting how many people gave information to Melissa early on in the game. One being the Mac, Drew, and Melissa call, where Drew initially leaked the alliance of Sarah, David, Evan, and Drew. So I think all 3 of the nominees for this were deserving of this award, but we did decide to give it to Melissa. The next award is the best move of the season. There were a few things we talked about as being a best move, but there was only one that we really thought was worthy of the award. And so that goes to Nicholas using the power veto on Sarah at Final 6. This is what caused Jackson to leave the game and set Nicholas up to basically take out everybody in the order that he needed them to go, especially with Nick becoming a comp threat towards the end of the game. This was the perfect move at the time. I know Nicholas was not originally going to use the veto. He was going to let Sarah go, but I think that when you guys realized that this was an option, it really turned out to be a great move for you. I think another move that didn't turn out how it could have, but was a good move in my opinion, was Sarah nominating Drew and Lizzie on her first HOH, because if Drew left, Lizzie goes up automatically as Fatal Attraction nominee. And then I think when Drew comes off, it's still a great move for Sarah to then target Lizzie, because then that's one less person that has to sit out of HOH. Another move that could be mentioned is Sarah turning the vote onto Mac and saving her game at Final 13, where we would have possibly lost Sarah pretty early on. Whereas I'm very sad that we lost Mac. However, that was a very good move on Sarah's part. Next, we have the hero of the season. So our nominees are Caleb, Jeff, and Sarah. But the winner of hero of the season is Sarah. Sarah fought from the bottom this entire game. Sarah and Jeff are both now tied for most nominees or most nominations in a season with 7. Jeff, you are sitting tied with Chloe at most times on the block on eviction night. You do hold that record. But Sarah, you came from at the beginning of the game, you were very discouraged, but you were able to managed to stay when Matt got evicted, and then kept fighting and fighting and fighting and clawing your way up in this game, almost winning. If you would have won part 3, I think you probably win this game. So that's why we chose you as hero of the season. Next, we have the villain of the season. So our nominees are Brayden, Corey, and Drew. Production went back and forth between Brayden and Drew. However, we decided to ultimately give it to Drew. So Drew is our villain of the season. Drew, you are a very cutthroat player. Your jury management, not so good. You were willing to cut anybody that you had to. Early on, you were already making moves against alliances that you were in. And all the way to the final 5 when you were willing to let Melissa go, even though she was your final 2. That is what lands you at villain of the season. It's nothing to be upset about. You did a great job. Okay. And next, we have the big award, Player of the Season. We have 4 nominees, Jackson, Melissa, Nick, and Sarah. We talked a lot about this. However, production decided to give Nicholas the Player of the Season. Nicholas, you played a phenomenal game. You should be very proud of yourself. You came in the beginning of this game under the radar, not making yourself into a threat. Go on the block week 3. Also, honorable mention to Lizzie for being the only person to ever nominate Nick and Sarah together. But you go on the block week 3. You're able to stay, even though I don't know if you even had too much to do with you staying that week. But then you also go on the block as Fatal Attraction nominee. As you said in your speech, you never went on the block again. You basically called all the shots in the jury phase of this game. Whereas we did have other players that were big forces in this game, it was you in the background calling all those shots. So you should be very proud of the game you played. I'm very proud of the game you played. So yeah. And finally, we have our host favorites of the season. So I'm going to let each production member talk about their host favorite. So first up, we have Zach. So Zach's host favorite, I will let Zach come off mute and then I'll click it.
I'm gonna go first. Yes, my favorite was Caleb. I really wanted Caleb on this season. I don't know if y'all know, Caleb was an alternate. He was the only alternate to eventually make it onto the cast. I was a big proponent of having Caleb on regardless. And I'm so glad that it happened. I was screaming, Prod can attest to this, pretty much every single week, veto, HOH, whatever it was, I was screaming in the Prod chat. I was like, come on, Caleb needs to win. Like, can he just win? Well, like and if it was an endurance, like the second Caleb dropped, I was just like, it's over. Like the season's over. Like it's done. It doesn't matter. So I was just really rooting for Caleb. 1984 was my first org, so I naturally am, and I really haven't played that many, so I'm still new. So I naturally relate to newer players and can sympathize with them, especially if 1984 is also their first one. So I was just really rooting for Caleb the whole time, and I was in his corner, and I loved hearing him talk, loved hearing what he had to say all the time. And just hilarious, great personality. Thanks for playing, Caleb. It was great.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up, we have Tyler's host favorite. So Tyler, I want to make sure you're ready.
Hello. Can you hear me? I'm driving.
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay.
I will click it for you.
Okay. So my host favorite was Drew. I just love Drew's chaotic brain, and I've had the displeasure of playing with Drew, and I know how his brain works from a player perspective, and it's honestly not any different from like a prod perspective. I feel like Drew goes back and forth on his decisions 95,000 times before he actually makes a choice, and I love like just watching all his thoughts. I think Drew said he was going to quit approximately like 15 times, and it was really fun.
That's lowballing.
I think it was really fun to just like watch Drew's brain work. And although I didn't agree with a lot of the decisions he made, I think like they were in his brain, they made a lot of sense. And I just like the villainous game that he had played.
Thank you, Tyler. I appreciate it.
Next up, we have Josh's host favorite. Okay, Josh, here you go.
Yes, Brayden was my host favorite. Part of that is in the conversation we had about who was going to get villain of the season. I was like a very big proponent of Brayden should get villain of the season because you fought tooth and nail every week to make sure that you stayed in the game and you really didn't care who you had to step on as long as your name wasn't read out on eviction night. I think you brought a lot of passion and a lot of heart and a lot of energy to this game. And I just really appreciated the way that you played and the energy that you brought. And I just really enjoyed watching you play. Obviously, the way that you and Lizzie interacted had a big part in how I feel about you. But you definitely deserve to go as far as you did and definitely even farther. And I think that you played a really strong game and that's why you're my host favorite.
Okay, next up we have Caleb's host favorite.
Good, yeah.
Okay, Caleb's host favorite is
Missy. So I remember interviewing Missy the first time we had a call, and we talked for like 45 minutes after her interview. And I said, this is a lock in the cast. I will fight tooth and nail to make sure this lady is in this cast. Loved Missy. Her personality is amazing. I think she's the only person that really saw Sarah's real threat in this game. Like, yeah, everyone was like, yeah, Sarah's a threat. But Missy, this entire season was like, Sarah is a threat. And I think Missy was always very hyper aware of what was going on in this game. And her social game is impeccable. There's like nothing bad to say about Missy. Like her confessionals are hilarious. Like if Missy was like one of the confessionals, like, hi, I'm here. I'll do your confessional. So I love Missy so much. I love everybody in this cast, but Missy was probably my favorite to watch play. She just reminds me a lot of myself, just very like energetic and crazy, but I love watching Missy. She's an amazing player, an amazing person. So
okay. And then mine, I'm gonna give an honorable mention to Lizzie, but my host favorite was Sarah. Sarah, you were so much fun to watch. I see a lot of how I play and how you play. I end up on the bottom a lot. And so watching you fight your way through this game, especially after early in the game being so discouraged, but then picking yourself back up and fighting until the end, almost pulling out the win tonight, was really fun. I loved all your comments everywhere. I loved getting on calls and listening to your brain work. The way that you could manipulate people, how they thought without even thinking was just amazing to me. So yeah, I really enjoyed watching you play. So that's why you are my host favorite. So that is all the awards we have. So there are a couple things I think we wanted to talk about. The first thing, Caleb is so excited for us to tell you this. So normally in 1984, the first head of household is decided on first impressions. That was almost what happened this season. So we thought this would work out a different way because typically somebody volunteers for the head of household and is voted and wins that award. So what we thought would happen was somebody would volunteer and get voted, and then somebody random would win. So what happened was the person who got the most votes, the person who had them or had that person as their fatal attraction would become the head of household. So since Melissa had Glow as her fatal attraction, Melissa became the first head of household. So we thought that somebody was going to volunteer and then everybody would be like, oh my gosh, how did that person not get it? It didn't work out that way. But I know that definitely had an effect on the season, as Melissa was first head of household and all that. However, that was a big kept secret that I think we were all
I loved it.
very excited about.
I hate you all.
But yeah,
Wait,
we
so
definitely thought
you
that was
guys
gonna work
are
out so much
saying,
different.
wait, who actually got the most votes for
Glow.
anything?
Votes were
Glow
Glow.
did.
Oh
It was
my
like a-
God.
It was like a
did not
3
want
to 2
that.
to 2 to 2 to 1 to 1 to 1 vote. It's
I'm
normally
so
like a
upset.
7 to a 3 to a 1 to 1 to 1. And so we thought it would end up different. It didn't work out that way.
I'm gonna have an
that
aneurysm.
was a twist that nobody ever knew had happened.
I hate you.
So yeah. Melissa, you did I know you at least received a vote for that, so
I
don't
hate
feel
you
too
all.
bad.
I don't. I'm pissed. I didn't want that. Like,
I feel like if I'm not mistaken, Missy got second, or
so
maybe I'm
mad.
wrong.
I think. Well, let me just go.
I think
look.
she got at least
Um,
2 votes.
Y'all could have given that to Glow. I'm pissed.
Melissa actually only got 1 vote, and it was from Caleb. The
Oh,
glow.
Caleb.
The glow votes were from
That was-
Corey,
that was-
Lizzie, and Mac. So those 3 were the ones that technically voted for Melissa.
Excuse
We will.
me, Mac.
I wasn't there, but I would have voted for that.
Excuse me. I have questions. We will talk, sir.
Yeah. So production draft wise, I can pull that up. The fantasy draft, I don't know the exact scores, but Mike Fakaru Jr. won. He had the final 3 and Melissa, so almost a perfect score. So congrats to him on that. There were a couple, I know Stephanie Fagan had 3 of the top 4, but she also had David. So that's kind of what brought her score down a little bit. Okay, so I will, once my Google Sheets works, I will go through who each of the production members had on their team. So we'll just go in order that we picked. So Tyler was the first person to pick. He had Jackson, David, and Corey. I'm going to skip the next person because they had Nicholas. Caleb had Jeff, Mac, and Braden. Zach had Glow, Drew, and Caleb. I had Lizzie, Sarah, and Kendall. Casey was actually the wild card. And then Josh was the winner with Evan, Nicholas, and Melissa. So Josh won the production draft.
I finally won something in 1984.
You announce your
Is
winner
it
pick?
because my last name is
Congratulations.
Rogers? I'm just
Yes.
curious if that's
We
why
love
you
that.
chose
We
me.
love that.
You know what? It came back around to my pick, and you were still on the board. And I was like, I don't know why these people have not picked Melissa yet. So I had to.
Honestly, the only reason you were picked so late in the draft, Missy, was because we were scared of your commitment because of Cutthroat.
Mhm.
So
I
we
chose
were.
this game over.
Oh, we know.
Cutthroat.
Oh, we know that now. We absolutely know
Yeah,
that now.
but in the moment we were very scared because you were like you already started Cutthroat, so we were like, Missy may be super inactive here, so like we didn't really know what was
I
going on.
told an entire ass group of people to vote me out. That's all I'm saying.
We also, each of the production members did like preseason predictions. So we have like all the placements. We were very wrong, but that's okay. Caleb did predict the first 3 boots. But yeah. So the winner predictions for each of us, and I believe these are the same that we said on the cast assessment. Mine was Sarah, Josh's was Evan, Zach's was Glow, Tyler's was Jackson, and Caleb's was Jeff. You guys will end up getting to see the whole thing. It's in the chart that we'll send you guys. Also, a lot of you ended up listing out like everybody's fatal attractions. I don't know if anybody ever had it exactly right because of some of the early evictees. So I'm going to go through who everybody had. So Braden had Sarah, Casey had Braden, Corey had Caleb, David had Jackson, Drew had Corey, Evan had Casey, Glow had Nicholas, Jackson had Evan, Jeff had David, Caleb had Melissa, Kendall had Jeff, Lizzie had Drew, Mac had Kendall, Melissa had Glow, Nicholas had Mac, and Sarah had Lizzie. Yeah. And so it did end up going in a full circle. I think it would have been really cool if there was like a group of like 4 people that just had each other randomly. But when we randomized it, that's just how it happened. Trying to think if there's any other things that that I want to mention. Something fun I'll mention that I just think you guys would get a kick out of, and I know he won't be mad. Judge number 1 was my father. So I think that's just a fun thing. My dad was judge number 1. He had a very fun time judging those.
Judge 2 is going to get a lot of grief, so be careful.
Judge 2, I'm not going to reveal who Judge 2 is.
I'm gonna fight Judge.
I will just say this. Okay, I'll just
Tell
say
them find me in an alley.
It's one of my IRL friends. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, you
'cause I'm
guys
not
won't
going
know
to
any of the people. But I will say, Melissa, I might have just interrupted somebody. Melissa, your music video is great. I personally don't think you deserved ones in those. I understood their reasoning for the lower scores based on what they knew. However, I don't think you deserved ones. Obviously, it's a subjective comp, so there's not much production can do about it.
Honestly, like
but-
I was supposed to do this whole extra part and
Oh,
all
she
these
was.
extra scenes where I was gonna dress my daughter up like characters, like cast members. Like they were like Elena was gonna have glasses like Corey and have a sign that said toxic. She was gonna drop her cups while waving like Jackson, have flannel and a beard like Brayden. And my brother who helped me is like, oh no, my SD card is full. And I was like, I'm so fucked. Like I got it, but like it could have been better.
Can I ask?
This
Can I ask
Also-
who all the production liked of that music video?
I will say also, judge number 3, I guess, was also my IRL. So we just used IRLs of some of the production members to judge the music video competition. Which, like, let us know what you think about that, because we kind of feel like back and forth on whether or not that was a good idea, because they aren't in the org community, so like they didn't have the same kind of knowledge, but they also didn't have any biases against any of you. So
I think what I liked about it was there was no bias against anybody. That was the one thing I liked. However, I think in the same, like, it was, they don't understand the effort that goes into it, I don't think, and they don't understand like some of the inside jokes that are in there and stuff like that. So obviously this is a growing experience. So you live and you learn. Unfortunately, you guys were the guinea pig for a music video challenge, but
Y'all, in my video, did y'all see me laughing when I mentioned Jackson and Caleb's like war? Because I
That was
laughed
so
so
good.
hard. That was my favorite part of the game. Even in my video, I'm like losing my mind. It's so funny.
I would just
Wait, what-
maybe in the future, if you're going to use IRLs, I would just tell the cast like, hey, these are not
yeah.
like, these are IRLs. Like, don't give them
Yeah.
names or anything, but just
Mhm.
I would like a forefront, like, just so you know, don't set your.
For sure.
Did you stream it to your dad? Because he said mine was choppy and it was not choppy.
I sent them the links. But
It's so
wait,
weird. I love Michael's dad.
No, I do too.
when I will say when I told my dad that Drew's won, he was like, "It did? What?" He was like, "Melissa's didn't win." But
I love Michael's dad.
Wait,
He
Drew,
might
did
end
you
up
have a
watching this.
question? I heard you ask a question, but he kind of got like.
Oh,
talked over.
I just asked who all of Prod actually thought did the best video. Yeah, Missy's was good.
I will say,
Missy's was
honest,
stupid.
I think collectively we thought Missy's was the best.
I think
love y'all so
collectively,
much.
yes.
Collectively,
Overall,
Missy
yeah.
felt that shit was cringy. When it came on, at first I was like, okay, other people will see this. And y'all are like, we're all going to have a watch party. I backed out of Zoom completely. I was like, not today, Satan, not today.
Oh, she did. She said, tell me when it's done so I can stop watching, so I can watch again.
I felt like I was so, like, without those extra scenes, I was literally just singing to a camera. But I spent hours on that song, y'all. Hours.
The song was really good, and I will say that, you didn't have a lot of scenes in your video, but it gave like a very like classic like 80s vibe.
Mhm.
And that was my goal because it's 1984 production.
Mhm.
So like I
Yeah.
was like, it has to be 80s Fatal Attraction vibes, and that's what I was going for. But
Yeah.
it's probably the dumbest song I've ever written in my life.
I personally I really liked Sarah's video. I think her concept was really neat. I liked that you had a lot of different outfit changes and scene changes. I really like that. I think Nick's was just really funny. I don't know that it wasn't like the best put together video, but I just enjoyed watching it.
We were laughing IRL.
We watched it
I
together.
cried
IRL,
when he's
and
like,
we were
I got
howling.
syphilis.
So good.
When it's like I got syphilis and Jack's reaction of, I was like, I'm not okay. I'm not
I put
okay.
that together in like 2 hours.
I
I really enjoyed it because it was like it seemed like a sort of normal music video, and then your face appeared, like the eyes and the mouth appeared, and I just lost it. It was so
good.
funny.
No, I think I wrote him and was like, "This is not okay. Like, I am not okay."
I will say watching Drew's on the first time around, like I didn't understand it, but once you
That's
like,
what
I feel like you have to watch it a couple times and then you actually understand the concept and it's really good. It's more of like a story kind of thing.
And I think that more than once.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I have to go because I do have company over, but like I have loved every moment of this game.
I love you, Misty.
All of you in it. I love y'all. Add me on everything. I'm gonna go, okay?
Hi, Missy.
Bye.
Okay. Was there anything else that you guys wanted to know or anything like that about the season? I will say this was probably one of my favorite seasons that we've had. This was one of the most competitive groups we had. I think from 13th place on, you guys were such a competitive group of people. Every single week, I was like, no, I don't want any of these people to go. Like, how is this happening every single week? And like, none of you disappointed. I was very excited the entire time watching this game. Once jury started, we were nervous that it was just gonna fall flat and people were just gonna go and it wasn't gonna be a big deal, but you guys kept it going from start to finish. Obviously the first couple weeks are get out the inactives, whatever, but after that, this game never stopped. And I appreciate you guys so much for that. Especially with this being the 10th season. It was a phenomenal game, phenomenal cast. I am so proud of what you guys have done this season. So yeah, was there anything else that you guys needed to know from production or wanted to hear from each other? Glow, I see your hand.
Yeah, what was it like in the Voice Lounge about the overall season? I think you called it the Voice Lounge or whatever it was.
The Viewers Lounge. The Viewers Lounge was a little quieter this season. I think that was partially production. We just didn't share as much to them this season as we have in the past. I think we were really into watching it ourselves. We just didn't send as much over to them, but they really enjoyed the season as well from what we could tell. So you guys gave them a good show. So yeah.
Glow, I want to mention your confessionals were also my favorite. So I enjoyed those very much.
I do want to say, because game aside, I want to apologize to Evan. I'm sorry, Evan, that I went so hard into you because I do like you as a person, but you were just too big of a threat to my game and too much against me. The difference between you and Sarah in my eyes is when I told Sarah something, I didn't hear it from someone else. But when I told you stuff, you ran and told other people. So that's how I knew I couldn't trust you and I could trust Sarah. And that's why I went so hard on you. But I do want to apologize because I do think you deserved to be in jury. So.
Thanks.
Yeah, Evan was robbed, honestly.
Evan was robbed.
Oh, he was robbed. I'm sorry.
No, it was a good move because I was gunning for you.
Oh,
so
I know. I had to. I knew you were gunning for me, so I had to take the shot when I could. And again, I felt so bad on a personal level because I know it was your first game, but you killed it this game. So keep your head held high. You were amazing.
Yeah, like Evan, I think like 4 out of the 5 prod, we all had you in the final 3, like preseason. Like that's we thought you were in the final 3. Like that's how good.
I thought you were winning.
That
I thought you were winning, hands down. So I was very sad when you left.
I think I was the only one that didn't have you in final 3, and I had you at 8th. So I mean, we had high expectations for you. We were very sad to see you go.
I will say, Evan, you went from being in a really good spot, and Drew honestly single-handedly like fucked your whole entire game. Because I think everyone wanted to work with you until that moment.
Oh, and I agree, and I worked so hard for you to go. It was I'm so sorry. I am so sorry, but I just was playing for my game, and I knew you were after me, so I had to take the shot.
I think anyone else.
I got to tell. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine. I'm good. You're good.
I don't usually bring another game in this, but because all of y'all have overwhelmed me overall with production and a great majority of the players, that I got there with because in this game, if there had been something like that could have been done, y'all would have been intensely hysterically laughing. They had a thing where you could put a bounty on somebody. I'm not going to tell a story. Nobody had the guts to do a bounty. I got tired of being bounced around like a ball without throwing the game. That means you're up and down, fighting for your life. And I made this statement that goes out on the audio. It's not your voice. I listen to the damn thing and it sounds like my voice. And I'm thinking everybody thinks it's really me. So the next day I send a message to everybody. Yeah, I did the bounty, but I can be a nice person and take a bounty off. Guess what's happened? It's turned the whole upside thing upside down, and the two top ones are now at the bottom, and one is quit because they can't take the stress. I thought y'all would get a kick out of that.
Right.
Yes, Flo.
It was a cheap bounty. You have a thing like coins. Into that, you got points, and the person could take the bounty off, and they got to pay one to do it, and then pay one for what it is. And I just got over all of them spineless players like y'all weren't like that. I said, screw it. Then it screws up with my hearing and it sounds just like me to me. And it's not me at all. And the next morning, that place is taken off. I said, all I did was go to bed and didn't see what even happened. So it went out after I did it. And I'm gone all night. And they're all in there, like you're getting together for a get together. And now one is quit and the other one's going to be a doctor. And he's having a nervous breakdown. Literally nervous breakdown over the game. I'm thinking, guys,
Oh no.
what in the world? I'm the bouncing ball. Now let's go ahead and throw y'all the hoop a few times. I had no idea it was really going to work. Anyway,
I'm going to change the subject, but I also have the episode quotes for the season. They weren't spread out over the cast as much as they usually are, but I will go through them. So week 1 was my introvert meter is on empty. Lizzie said that. Week 2 was I assume the straights were working together. That was a Mac quote. Week 3, which was this happened because I got bored. That was Corey. Week 4 was, well, the tension is over. That was Evan. That was probably my favorite quote of the whole season. Week 5 was at least kiss me and take me to dinner before you fuck me. That was Missy. The instant eviction that was for Mac and that was for fucking Lizzie. That was also Melissa. Week 6 was nothing makes me wetter than poetic justice. That was Braden. Week 7 was these boys are dumber than a box of rocks. That was Melissa. Week 8 was it's no accident she was my fatal attraction. That was Braden. Week 9 was karma's a bitch and you're gonna get what's coming. That was Jackson. Week 10 was for once in this game, I'm not going on the block. That was Sarah. Week 11 was life or death. That was Nicholas. Week 12 was I'm so over this game. That was Nicholas. And then the finale quote was against all odds, and that was Sarah. So those are all the episode quotes. And then in the chart, you guys will also see my contenders for the season week by week. I always chose those after the head of household competition, except for the last week I chose after the eviction of Drew. Nicholas was on my contenders since jury started, I believe. But I also had him preseason and week 2. So, yeah.
I think, Michael, didn't we say around like final 8 or 9 that Nick's winning the season?
I think we did. Because like I think the story
No.
arc makes sense with Sarah getting third, unfortunately, as much as it is not fun. I feel like Drew at 4 made sense, and Sarah at 3 just made sense for the story. As disappointing as it is, obviously. But Nick, you just had yourself set up very well. So I think you played a wonderful game. We do have.
I think we need to give Jeff more credit too, though. Like, honest.
Yeah, Jeff, you played a wonderful game as well. I think you played a game that not a lot of people are able to socially standing in the game. As I said, you were on the block 5 times on eviction night and never went home. That speaks very much to your social game. And while you weren't winning competitions, you were socially in with a lot of people. I don't remember how early it was, but I remember either you or Sarah mentioning how like the other just didn't like each other. And then like 24 hours later, you guys were in a chat together, just living it up. And I was like, when did this happen? And so that was one of my favorite dynamics of the game. You guys weren't necessarily like a duo in the game. It was more just a duo that called together, which was really fun. So I think that also speaks to Jeff's social game as well. So
I will say the one flaw that I saw in Nick's game was I do think that Nick should have kept Drew at 4 because I mean again I obviously we don't know this for a fact, but from my perspective I think Drew was losing no matter what because of his poor jury management. But I don't think anybody in the game saw that. I think everybody saw Drew as like this big threat because he won so many comps. However, the jury chat was like not impressed.
Yeah, I think.
Oh God.
I was gonna say I think at 4, if Nick takes Drew instead of Jeff, I think that Nick beats Drew in the end, and Sarah's already in 3. So either way, whereas I also think that Sarah takes Nick, whereas Sarah would have taken Jeff instead, and so that was a big factor as well. My earbuds are dying, so I'm gonna go.
In a perfect world, it would have been Sarah at 4, Drew at 3. I also think Drew needs way more. Like I get like people might be mad at him, but I don't know, Drew, you're playing a great game. Flippy floppy for sure, but wishy washy and going back, and I was like, who was I telling? I was like, the second time we finally had Brayden up and he was about to go, and you're like, I'm having second thoughts. It was like Incredibles, Edna mode, like pull yourself together, bitch. Like it was like, oh my God.
I did.
I think you played so well.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I think I played well too. I don't care what anyone again, I don't care.
I think you played very well.
Clearly it's making me the villain because I played my own game, but I don't give a fuck. But I played my game and no one else's. And I don't think anyone can say that I played their game because I did play my own game. I did what I thought I had to do to get to the end. And again, I was willing to cut the people that I needed to cut, regardless of who it was. Even Missy, unfortunately, I love Missy, but every other game, I always stick to my number 1, regardless. But this game, I was willing to cut her. Honestly, I'm taking it back that I got biggest villain because I'm going to be honest. I thought I was playing a heroic game.
I thought I was going to get villain. You were going to get hero.
I do think that Drew is
game. I really
Drew is kind of like an anti-villain, anti-hero more than like straight up villain. But I do think villain of the season still is something that
I can see it. I can see it now, but the only person I flat out lied to that I was not lied, but I did lie a lot, but flat out did not tell they were going home was Jackson. Everybody else, I said they were going home. That was to me a good jury management, but apparently not.
I think the reason. Sorry, I don't know who was talking. Oh, sorry. I didn't know who was talking. I was gonna say I think the main reason you got villain was because of the bad taste you sent to a lot of the jurors, which like
I didn't even think I did.
But I think like you were willing, and for me anyway, this was like my justification was I feel like you willing to sell out Missy kind of sealed the deal for me. Um,
I was playing my own game.
and yeah, I do think you played great. It was just like a villainous act.
I see it now that you're explaining it, but in the game, I thought I was playing a heroic game. So
Hero of their own.
Zach, I
Here's
want
what
you.
Well, I think with me is like when you kind of threw your alliance under the bus, that to me was kind of villainous.
No,
like to save your.
Okay, I'm gonna state right now. Me throwing that alliance under the bus was not villainous because I was telling my number 1 and my number 2 about the alliance.
I think that was more anti-hero. That was more anti-hero for sure.
I trusted Missy and Mac way more than I trusted the 3 in that alliance.
And then Mac told everybody.
I know. which I did say.
Speaking of Mac.
I did say I would have voted Mac out if I known he was the vote because I did not trust him after I flat out asked him, he flat out asked me, have you told me everything? And I said, yes. And then I asked him, have you told me everything? And he said, yes. And Missy had already told me about the principal's office alliance. And the moment that he denied it is the moment I didn't trust him anymore.
Well, Drew, you gave me one of the biggest compliments in the game, you and Evan. And I really got tired and I thought I would with Caleb, and that's meant as a compliment. I adored Sarah. I loved Mac. That was a horrible mental situation for me with Mac.
I remember like the last hour before I was evicted, I was literally just putting on makeup and I'm like, it's a little quiet. Like I think I'm going home, but people are being like, no, you're fine. And then I remember Corey was like screaming at me. He's like, shut up. Like you're safe. Don't worry. I'm like, if I'm gonna go home, at least want to die pretty or something like that. So I'll always remember that. But yeah, I genuinely like miss so much of you. Like I'm happy.
You were like, wait, people are considering voting me? I was like, yeah, buddy, your name's on the block. You should like campaign.
Yes, you were one of the only people to actually be like, yeah, I've heard your name. I'm like, yeah.
I will say I think that was my favorite round of the season because I think it shaped the season up. Like not because Mac left, obviously, but it was just like I think had Corey not done that, the season would not have been as it was. And I think that's kind of like for the rest of the season, I think those dynamics all played a factor, like from that round onward. And it was, I will say that round, I thought there was potential that Mac would stay. And I thought Evan was about to blow it up for a second because I remember after the call where they all decided to vote Mac out, Evan went to his one-on-one with Mac and was like, so do you have anything to tell me? And
that was so good.
And Mac kind of denied it all, which I don't know if Evan can touch on this, but like I thought for a second there's potential that Evan did not want Mac to go.
I honestly did second guess it, but when I found out that information, I thought about it and
I thought about it too.
I already said like it was a really like on the spot decision, but I just figured it wasn't worth it when Corey told us that.
Yeah, I remember messaging my prod chat, like the way you were talking, I'm like, oh, Evan knows. So I'm like, okay, well, it's like if I told you about it, I might stay, but what's the consequences of me staying? All the people who I was on that side would have then hated me and I would become the new Drew. So it felt like I was in a really shitty position, but I did message my host chat. I'm like, oh, if Evan knows, like I'm going. So
I mean, watching that whole round as a prod member, like holding our breath basically for the like an hour or two before, like from the moment when that plan was made to flip until eviction, like, I mean, I can't speak for all prod, like I know I was just waiting for it to blow up because shit like that, it like rarely actually goes through. And so I remember Evan going to Mac and kind of hinting at it. And I was like, he better not do this. Like this is like because it was just going to be such a blindside. Like it was obviously it was a huge moment in the game, and I was just waiting for eviction to come before someone blew it up.
I was pretty persistent though. Like I honestly tried to dig it out of him just to get him to say it. Like I wanted a reason to there was just a part of me that felt that way, and when he just wouldn't, I was like, yeah, whatever.
I also tried to do that with you with the with squad goals. I called you and I would make little hints, like I'd be like, oh my god, Sarah and David just messaged me at the same time, and like just saying like little things, because like I wanted, as soon as I knew you were a part of it and you weren't telling me about it, I'm like, okay, well, even ain't as close with me as I once thought. So I think it's like a,
we just did not
reverse
tell each
thing.
other enough.
No, if you came to me and you're like, hey, I know about the principal's office and you're probably going home, then that's when I'll be like, flip the switch. But
And I will say the vote was on Nicholas at first, and then switched to Mac like pretty close to eviction.
You see, Caleb, go ahead, jump in, Caleb, when you're ready.
I just didn't want to interrupt or anything.
Right.
Okay, so I just want to say that Mac and Lizzie, I really do apologize about evicting you guys. I mean, I did tell Mac that he had nothing to worry about, but I just couldn't risk it because I feel like if I did evict Mac, I would have probably, if I didn't evict him, I probably would have been gone right after him. And I do apologize. And Lizzie, if you're on here, I apologize to you as well.
Oh, it's fine. I've gone through what happened on my game, and like that's really distracting. Could you unmute yourself?
I muted.
Oh, that's really distracting. That's weird.
You
I'm fine. I'm at peace with everything that happened in my game.
Lizzie, Caleb, and Evan, I'm really looking forward to hoping to playing in another game with you three. If it ever happens that we hit the same game, you know what I mean? I want y'all to know that. And Drew, you gave me a big compliment, and it doesn't need to be talked about. I think you remember what you said.
No, I do, and I meant everything I said to you, Glow. So.
Oh God, you don't know how bad I want to be in a game with you over that compliment.
I hope we do get a play game. Sorry, I hope we do get a play game together again.
I would love to have how I argue with somebody that I'm not going to betray in the background. Because, I mean, I get real. I get argumentative. I want to cut their head off. Well, if you do that, I'm going to F you right now. Hold on. Give me a, bullshit talk that I'm not going to do to get what I want. Sometimes I do really press what I want. And your unpredictability pissed me off so bad that I think it would be interesting to see how we could change it up behind the scenes and do it.
Oh, I agree. Like I told you, if we would have connected sooner, we would have been a deadly duo. So
I don't think any of them would have thought I would have been a deadly duo in this game, but who knows? You gotta be with the right people to do it. You know what we're talking about. We've been around a long time.
Yep, I do. I know what you're talking
I
about.
like a lot of players in this game, and I liked a lot of the newbies. I was impressed. And Caleb didn't back off, and I love that about him. I loved Evan. I had to have Evan on Facebook. I just couldn't let him go for the rest of my life.
I know. I love you,
My
girl.
lifespan is getting so damn short. I don't know if I can make it without heart attacks in these games the way they got. I was pissed off at Jackson the most in the whole game.
Hey, Glow, I got a question for you and Caleb. It's not so much about losing your vote because I don't care about it. Nick played a great game and he deserves to win very handily. So congrats again, Nick. For you two, I was a little shocked and surprised about how hot you guys came in to the final. Like, not giving him 6 minutes to talk alone, but just the fact that I thought that the way that you guys went out, I did give you guys the utmost respect and was genuine through and through. So to be kind of like berated almost, not berated, but just you guys did come in a little hot. And Caleb, you saying you're going to deal with me in a minute instantly put me off. And I don't understand where that came from because
I wasn't going to like fist fight or anything. I'm not willing to fight or anything, but
No, but it's not what you say, it's how you say it sometimes. And the way you said, and it was both this time, because of how you said it and what you said was very aggressive. And I don't think
I
that
apologize for that. And I'm sorry that I didn't vote for you, and I do feel bad, but it was a tough decision because you both did evict me.
I'm not talking about the vote. I'm not talking about the vote. I'm just talking about how we address each other through the game. I think that we have been on point, straightforward, and like never did I disrespect you. Did I lie to you? I told you straightforward when you were going up and when you were going home, like that, where my vote lied. Same thing with Glow. Glow, as I try to address in my final speech, like I knew how infectious and charismatic you are with everybody. And I said this from the get-go. You can check my confessionals, my podcast, everything. I've said I loved you from the get-go, but I was also concerned that that was the same case for everybody else as well. And so like, I didn't have that final assurance that everybody else had. So I didn't have that with you. So I didn't run away from that at all. But I think I gave you both the respect that you both earned and got from me and gave back to you. Like, and I just didn't understand where that came from. So
It only came, and I love you as much as what we had in the real world of talking, behind the game when it wasn't all game talk. That's not lost with you at all. What I got upset with you about, which we all have our different perspective of wives, is that you could have changed this game up that round, where I had to go, but you went there 5 times. You went there more than me. So you had to do what you did for your own game. Is that I'm not going to say you really knew what you were going to do, but you got evasive when I said it proved when Nicholas made the statement, Glow thought Jeff. That proved right there how much I really was with you in this game. And then it was distant, it disappeared. I felt unimportant anymore. And that's what happened with a little bit of what you might feel we lost with the straightforwardness. It was in the very end when I was fighting for my life when I was on the block, which you did 5 times. Nobody ever wanted you to go. There were times where I had to do what a majority wanted to do. There was never, when there was 2 or 3 that I loved, that I ever wanted you to go the most. When you're pushing, it might have been that some others were more. So don't lose that perspective of the predicament I was put in when I loved 2 or 3 on the block and you were one of them.
I understand what predicament you were in, but I was also in my own. So like, at no point.
I just said that.
I understand that, but I'm just saying, you only knowing one side of that, at least give me the benefit of the doubt of explaining the other side of it instead of like claws out aggressive, because that doesn't give me a chance to be as fair as I was with you. That's all I'm saying. So
okay, with that, I apologize for. Sorry you got hurt with that. That's what I'm saying. And I was hurt just really in exactly what you're saying, where you are now fighting to win. Okay, I was with Nick and Sarah, and I think they could, Nick and Sarah, because I think maybe Nick and Sarah really would have changed the game up and kept me a little bit longer had you got back with them, and that hurt me the most in the whole game.
I understand that. We're just playing 2 different chess games, so I respect you and your game.
You made it to the final 2, and that's all you need to worry about. You did a great job.
Is it all right if I show everybody something?
Go for it.
Okay. 1 second. Because I've had this TV on for the entire time we did the finale reunion. And I wanted to get it ready for everybody. So I made a cast of the season that we did and the eviction order. It was on my Wii and stuff.
I love that you made this.
Here's Casey, if you can see him.
Aww.
Oh my gosh.
So cute.
Again. Here, maybe if I switch my camera on, you can see him better. Okay, there we go. Okay. All right, here's Casey. Then right next to him is Kendall.
I'm obsessed with this so much.
David. Here comes Mac.
Why can't I see what you're doing right now? Do I?
I'm just trying to show everybody.
He's
Yeah, I
showing
see
people
it.
with this. He's showing people with his camera.
Yeah, it's not coming up for me to see in my chat. That's what I'm saying.
Maybe if you watch the video, you might see it better.
Okay.
Okay, here's Evan. Hey, Evan, can you see this?
Yeah, that's great. I love it.
It's so cute.
Yeah, I got your hair wrong. You have blue now.
I know, right? No, it's cute.
There's Corey.
Icon.
Next up is me, the first juror. Hey, Glow, you're up next.
Oh, look at Glow.
Oh, little old lady. I love it.
You have a nice smile on your face.
I love you, Caleb.
Love you too, Glow. Here's Braden.
Yes.
Jackson, who's always serious because he never smiles and he hates everybody.
I'm so glad they got big as Rivalry.
And that's Missy. Hey, Drew, you're up next, buddy. You got long hair.
I do. It's very long right now. I love it.
Here comes you, Sarah.
The bangs.
Jeff, the runner-up. And the winner, Nicholas.
Not the beard.
Aww.
It's
You have a beard.
It's too bad I
And
didn't.
how do you do that, Caleb? How do you do what you do?
I'm sorry.
How do you do like what you're showing us?
Oh, well, I was playing Wii earlier and I decided to make this cast for the finale and stuff of us.
It's a
on
gaming
YouTube.
console that he just made like a bunch of different characters that represented us.
How does he get
Oh,
a
he
beard?
did a good job, didn't he? Especially with that big smile on Jeff. Jeff has got the most beautiful smile in the world. I mean, honest to God,
I'll show
regardless.
him. I'll show Jeff.
Yes, you did.
I don't even have freckles on mine.
Okay. I'm gonna wrap up the stream. The call will stay open if you guys want to, as long as you guys want to stick on. Before we end, I do want to shout out that 1984 Live is casting. We will be having live in Florida in July. So if you'd like to apply to that, please do so. There are still a lot of openings in that. So yeah, please do that. We will be the next season, 1984. We are not 100% sure when it will be yet, but it won't be too far off. So we are excited about all that. So if anybody's watching and wants to apply to that, go for it. I just added all of you guys to the alumni chat, so you can check that out. I will be releasing the cast assessment, the rites of passage, and the jury roundtable over the next couple days, as well as the chart and all that stuff. The fantasy draft will be out, all of that. So yeah, if there's anything else that I miss, let me know. Also, we do have a power rankings list for all of 1984's alumni. So that will be updated within the next couple of days as well. Don't take it too seriously. It's just something for fun, but it will be updated very shortly. So for the last time this season, thank you guys so much. It's been a great time. I've loved this cast as a whole. This has been one of my favorite seasons that we've had. For the 10th season, you guys made it special. I can't believe that we are 10 seasons down of 1984. I was a college junior when we started this, and now I have been out of college for a year and a half. So that's just crazy to me that we have made it all the way here. We have a lot of great things in the future of 1984. So yeah, that's all I have for you guys on the stream. Thank you to anybody who watched. Thank you to the cast. Thank you, production. I've loved my production team this season. You guys were great. So yeah, that is all I have for 1984 Fatal Attraction.
Thank you, Michael.